Alright, so hello and welcome to this Tennessee eCampus Comparative Politics class. My name is Dr. Phillips and I will be teaching your class this term. I am an assistant professor of comparative politics and political philosophy here at Austin Peay State University. And this video is going to explain what the course is about, how the material is going to be presented, and how your performance is going to be assessed. First, let's talk about what this course is about. It's called Comparative Politics, but what exactly is that? Comparative politics is best explained by contrasting it to another subfield of political science, international relations. Whereas international relations studies the interactions of states on the global stage, comparative politics compares the domestic political institutions of different states. In addition to satisfying our curiosity about how the rest of the world does things, comparative politics is also valuable because it helps us gain perspective on our own country. And this is something that I feel personally because I'm an American, but I grew up outside the United States. I spent 18 years living in France, and I have to say that one of the most important lessons that I received from this experience was that different perspective on what it means to live in America and how American institutions are similar but also yet very distinct from those of France and the rest of Europe. Now, I've been teaching this course for quite some time now. It's actually the first course I ever taught all the way back in 2006 now, and it's always struck me how broad the subject is. Political science in the United States divides things into several subfields. One of them is American politics, and another is pretty much everything else in the world. And potentially we could be talking about the internal politics of 200 different countries. So clearly some choices have to be made in terms of what to present in a survey course like this. By and large, this course looks at an overview of different dimensions along which countries might be compared. We can compare countries by the different regime types that they have, democracies and different kinds of democracies, dictatorships and different kinds of dictatorships. We can look about the causes and consequences of political violence. We can compare different political and economic systems and the relationship between those two things. But the course also takes the time to talk about important political concepts and some of the forces that currently impact nearly all countries, but to which countries respond in different sorts of ways, like globalization, for example. Now, perhaps 30 years ago, this course would have been presented to you with a series of case studies about different countries and how politics operate within those countries. You do a week on India, and a week on China, and a week on France, and a week on Germany. These days, comparative politics tries not to look at countries in isolation, but instead tries to, as I said earlier, compare one country to another. Also today, we have access to more and more information than ever before, and fancier statistical tools that enable us to compare countries in very sophisticated sorts of ways. Although lots of issues remain hotly debated within comparative politics, we are slowly building some solid scientific knowledge about what causes what and how political systems operate around the world. We'll talk a little bit about the science and political science in this course, what makes a comparison a good one, and what makes bad comparisons so seductive. So human beings are divided into countries, but human beings are not different species like cats and dogs. Once the language barrier is taken care of, what we'll see in this course is that the problems that societies face the world over are often quite similar, and that although responses vary, that variation tends to fall into predictable types. There's only so many successful solutions to social problems that crop up in human societies. Now, we're not going to be able to predict with any degree of certainty what any state will do when facing one of these familiar problems, but we can usually come up with a range of likely courses of action. For example, if a country has a federal system of government, there are some things that we can likely predict about that country. It's probably also going to have an independent judiciary system. It probably will also have two chambers of Congress, or two chambers in the legislature. It'll probably also have an independent central bank. If a country is not federal, then the odds are pretty good that there might only be one legislature, or one branch of Congress. The courts system might be weaker, and the policies of the central bank are more likely to be dictated by the government. Now let's talk a little bit about how the material is going to be presented in this course. Now, I have to confess that I did not develop this Tennessee eCampus course. Someone else, a colleague of mine, developed this course at Austin Peay, and so the material presented here is not the one that I would choose for my own class, the one that I teach at Austin Peay. Indeed, I'm actually contractually forbidden from taking any of the material that's in this class and replacing it with my own. There's some advantages and some disadvantages to this state of affairs. The advantage is that it ensures consistency across all sections of the Tennessee eCampus system. So no matter who's teaching or grading you, the criteria are the same, the material's the same, the book's the same. At the end of the day, one course looks very, very similar to another. The disadvantage, of course, is that you lose a little bit in terms of, I think, flexibility, variety, and of course, you don't play to the strengths to any particular instructor. What I can do in this course is add some extra material. So I can't take away any material, and I can't change the quizzes. What I can do is add some extra material to make the course a little bit more friendly. In particular, what I'm going to do is add videos and slides to enhance the content a little bit. You already have some slides here in this course, but I'm going to add some more. Now, this extra content that I'm adding to the course is never mandatory, and it only features in your exams if the content is also in your book. So you don't have to watch it, but I do think that, all in all, it'll probably enhance your understanding, and it probably makes it a little bit more fun. This class is broken down into weekly segments. Each week, you have some readings, some slides to look over. It's not fancy, but it should enable you to learn what you need to know. One of the things that you might also like to know is how your performance in the class is going to be assessed. You have quizzes every other week, you have 2 exams, and you have weekly discussions. The quizzes are 20-question multiple-choice quizzes on the material from the book. They're very straightforward. They are taken as a random subsection of a larger pool of questions, so no 2 quizzes are exactly alike, but you do have 3 cracks at each of the quizzes, so you have 3 attempts. And so if you use your attempts wisely, you should be able to do all right if you put the time in to study in between attempts. The exams are in the form of 2 essays. Each of them will ask you about sort of general, broad themes that we've been exploring throughout the semester. The discussions are graded following a very transparent rubric, which I encourage you to go look at. They're just clear criteria that will tell you exactly how I'm going to assess your discussion post. There shouldn't be any mystery there. As long as your discussion post is original, is thoughtful, evidence is presented to back up your reasoning, you shouldn't have any trouble. And of course, I will post feedback as needed. Now, once again, I don't have control over the design of these assignments or their timing. For example, I can't allow you to make up the midterm if you miss it. This is, again, a trade-off between consistency of instruction and attention to the needs of each individual student. So if I happen to deny an accommodation, please don't take it as a sign that I don't care about you and I don't care about how you do in the course. I really do, but I just don't have full control over the course architecture like I would if this were my course. I do believe that if you pay attention to the deadlines in the course and if you get your work done early, you have everything in this course that you need to do well. In addition to assessment and feedback, my role in this course is to answer all questions that you might have about the materials. So please don't hesitate to ask. Your professors are always your resources. Thanks for listening, and enjoy the course.